Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today I want to talk about Grand Cathay because I've seen a lot of rumbling around it that they've not shown a lot, and yes, I do agree, but right now I don't imagine that Grand Cathay is anytime soon, given the fact that we still need the Beastmen, the Wood Elves, and there's also some rumors about a new edition for the Horus Heresy, which sounds pretty interesting to be honest. But yeah, everything that's been shown is clearly not what we're going to be seeing only for Wave 1 of Grand Cathay. Hell, I've said it in the past, I do imagine that we're going to see multiple books for them in the form of these journals, as we know that this journal is around 48 pages. That's not enough to be able to get everything that we have, even the ones that are publicly available in Total War, for example. Now, there's still a decent amount of holes in Wave 1. We've got some pretty interesting looking units there with the Jade Warriors and obviously the artillery, a lot of artillery, but I do think that we need to see a few more things coming in. So let's talk about that today. First things first, there are a lot of Cathayan units that we can use in Total War Warhammer, and these are units that I do imagine will slowly make their way into the old world. We do know that Cathay was a collaboration between Creative Assembly and Games Workshop, but I don't imagine that we'll see all the stuff here already making its way into Book 1, as sad as that does sound, because we are missing a few things even in Total War. But let's look at the empty slots. When it comes to characters, we've seen one confirmed, Miao Yin. This is the Storm Dragon, and when it comes to the Arcane Journal system, there's usually 2 or 3. I could imagine that we'll get another dragon, because the dragons will sell, they'll be very, very popular, and we do know of 3 already, as if we've seen their designs, because we've seen them in Total War, but there are 2 others which could be possible. I think for the sake of clarity, Games Workshop will likely go with the first 2 that were introduced in Total War Warhammer, with Zhao Ming being the next one, the Iron Dragon, and it does seem like it makes sense considering that we are starting to see some Cathayan Ogres. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Cathayan Ogre unit, but we'll talk about that a little bit later down. If we end up with a 3rd character, well, they might end up using the hype from the Terracotta Sentinels and bringing in Setang the Watcher, or the other one which is mentioned in the map, which is supposed to be like a melee one as far as we're aware, but I don't know, maybe they might just go with Immortal. This is the thing, we don't know much about the Cathayan characters. At the very minimum, I expect 2 dragons. If a 3rd character comes up, I expect a hero. There needs to be hero characters being introduced, that's for sure. But they need to be well themed, even going with the whole Setang the Watcher thing, which would be a Terracotta Sentinel with a giant bow and being able to fly. He would be, I imagine, very expensive in terms of points. I do wonder what the dragons are going to cost point-wise, because they do look like they're going to be very expensive. If you take one, you're likely not going to be able to take the other, but I'm just really concerned, hoping that they're not like 600 points each, so you wouldn't be able to bring a lot of other heroes. Yes, you've got 50% that you can use onto your characters, but yeah, you want a lot of units on the table too. It's going to be a very weird army until we get to see them in action. Now, in terms of chaff, we are missing quite a lot of that. Jade Warriors, I assume, are going to be core, but we are missing basic peasants. We know that they exist, so maybe we might see some peasant archers, or we might get the Jade Warrior archers coming in at the same time, because we need some range chaff, we need some basic range core. It's really strange that we haven't seen anything, especially since they did show off the Jade Warrior kit. Likely it's going to be a different box like we've seen with the Empire, where the State Troopers and the State Missile Troopers are separate boxes. I doubt that we'll start seeing Peasant Horsemen coming in, but it does make sense to either get the Jade Crossbowmen or some Peasant Archers coming in. The Peasant kit I could imagine being full, just like you can put them with spears, you can put them with bows, and it'll be the same box, unless they want to separate it, which will mean more money, and Games Workshop do tend to do that, but I imagine the chaff box would just be a throwaway, because most people would want to get their hands on Jade Warriors more than anything else. I do imagine that an engineer hero is going to come in, unless the magistrate takes up that role and can be like a engineer hero version also. As you know, some characters can be either a lord or a hero option. I think so, mostly because we've got, what, 3 pieces of machinery right now. We've got the cannon, we've got the rocket battery, and we've got the balloon. There's going to be more. We do know that Cathay has quite a lot of different options in the game. They've got access to like the war compass, and they've got access to more types of artillery. Hell, there's an even different type of balloon there too. I think that that's something that might be pushed in quite heavily. But considering that the Empire and Cathay are going to be very similar in that regard, that they seem to be everyman factions, right? The Empire's always been the one of the jack of all trades, master of none, and the Cathayan faction seems to be the same way from what we've seen in Total War. An engineer is definitely going to be needed. definitely going to be needed. More Spellcaster Lord and variants I can expect here, because we do have the Alchemist and the Astromancer when it comes to Total War, and to be honest, again, magic heavy is going to be expected here. It's also the case of just the Law of Yin and Yang would be a bit of a weird thing, so they'll likely go with, okay, have the Astromancer, have the Alchemist, be able to use them as lords and heroes. That gives you access to a lot of different spell laws, as people do like the variety. I'm expecting Longmar Riders coming in the first wave, a box of 3 just like the Bretonnians, purely because the Shugengan, the Dragon-Blooded, seems to be on a, well, it is on a Longmar. I'm not sure if we're going to get one on foot, or if we do, it'll be down the line, so I imagine they'll want to introduce some flying cavalry to be able to go alongside that. You don't want a hero or a character in general going off by themselves. Sure, it might be quite powerful, but in most cases, just like the Bretonnians, you've got the Royal Pegasus, but you have some Pegasus Knights behind it or alongside it, just kind of flanking there, because they are quite useful. It's one of those units that I feel with the Spirit Longmar, yeah, it's almost certain. Now, that's all I imagine coming in for the first wave, like the whole first book thing. I do imagine more books are coming in. They do say it's going to be quite a lot, but keep in mind, they confirmed it's a 48-page thing, right? It's a 48-page book, which has got not only the army and their unique special rules, but also magic items, the armory, so more either items that you can take some items there, and also the Law of Yin and the Law of Yang. It's been confirmed there's a lot of brand new lore also. There's only so much that can be done in 48 pages, as we've seen. Like, if you look at the normal arcane journals that you've got access to, there's a bunch of units that get added in, but it's not enough in some cases. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe something different there, but I feel like this is going to be book 1 out of possibly 4 books for Grand Cathay. Maybe less, 3 makes a lot of sense, but we still haven't seen, you know, like the Monkey King. We haven't seen the other dragons. I imagine it's going to be Zhao Ming next, because it just makes a lot of sense. I'm coming in with an edit here because I did forget about this, which, even though it's right in front of me and with my notes, ogres. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why, but I feel like we might start seeing some Cathayan ogres. The fact that we got them in the crew was a very interesting thing, and I imagine that they'll work very similar as the Ogre crew does for the Chaos Dwarfs back in the day. I do believe they still have that rule for the Dreadquake Mortar in the Legacy faction, but I do imagine that we might actually see some Ogre Tyrants, Cathayan Ogre Tyrants, and maybe some Bulls, maybe some Iron Guts, but nothing like Lead Belchers. I don't know why, but I just feel like it's one of these things where, lore-wise, we know that Zhao Ming works very well with the ogres. It's represented in a not so great way in Total War Warhammer, but it's still something that we know about it. They were emphasizing that in the lore back when we were looking at the release of Warhammer 3 originally. It could be possible. It could be entirely possible. And if they're going to look like normal Cathayan ogres rather than just going, oh, buy the Age of Sigmar kit, great. I just hope it's not buy the Age of Sigmar kit. Because again, you'd think that the ogres from the Mantles of Morn and the ogres from Cathay are going to be at least a little bit, you know, different visually, just like the crew. Because I think that maybe Shen Yang, the Dragon Emperor, is able to kind of stop the whispering of the Maw in the ogres. I might be wrong there, just a theory, but I think it's what happens. Another reason why I do expect that we'll see more books is just if you go into a normal journal and you just look at the stat lines on how much a unit takes up from a page. Like, we're still missing stuff for, like, Jade Lions, Jet Lions, Onyx Crowmen, which we have seen in the trailer, but not a unit. We've just seen, like, artwork, and just, like, all the other stuff. Iron Hill Gunners, the Giselle units, which was the Crane Gunners. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to be added in. Maybe it's just going to be a really compact book. I just think it's not going to be that big, because I do imagine that the Terracotta Sentinel, the Warpstone Sentinel, and the Granite Sentinel, I believe was called, you know, they're going to take a big chunk of a whole page, I think, because they're going to have their own individualities rules. That's why they've got 3 different names. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more coming. I'm pretty excited nonetheless. I'm just going with, like, the more, this is what I can expect, and if more stuff comes, you know, happy days. It's just, there's a lot of Grand Cathay stuff as it stands, and I expect more. We're still expecting, like, more DLCs for Total War Warhammer, for example, and all of them add in generally around, 5 extra units, so there's a lot more coming. Like, I'm expecting at least 2 more DLCs for Grand Cathay, maybe even 3 really much depends. Like, we do have 2 active dragons and also the Monkey King, and even then with the Monkey King I'm expecting a full roster. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Maybe you have different expectations. I'm just kind of going with what I've seen from the normal journal so far and just thinking that that's going to fall in line there. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just want to talk about Cathay. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to paint up a Cathayan army. I've got a paint scheme in mind already, taking from one of the factions in Total War Warhammer. So yeah, hopefully we don't have to wait that long. Mind you, we do know that Beastmen are going to be next, and then we've got to wait for the Wood Elves first, so it makes sense. I imagine it'll be Beastmen, Wood Elves, whatever this happens with Horus Heresy, if that actually happens. But keep in mind that both Heresy and also Old World are from the same specialist development studio. So when one starts launching a product, the other one kind of takes a step back. We've already seen a Heresy kind of slow down a little bit because of Old World. But yeah, if Heresy happens, I expect them before Cathay. Again, if I'm wrong, happy days, but it's just kind of expected. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you all again very, very soon. I will be live on today on twitch.tv/The Great Book of Grudges. We're going to be continuing our Total War campaign. Pop by, say hi, and yeah, if not, I'll see you all tomorrow for a brand new video. See ya!